Welcome to Poemify Podcast, the poetry and art talk show, where we celebrate the beauty and diversity of African art. Our show features interviews with African artists, poets, and other creatives who draw inspiration from the rich cultural heritage of Africa. In each episode, our host engages in a lively discussion with our guests, delving into the inspiration behind their art, the cultural significance of African work, and the role of poetry and arts in promoting and preserving African culture. So, if you're a lover of arts, poetry, or African culture, tune into our podcast today and join us on this exciting journey of discovery and creativity. Once again, welcome to Poemify Podcasts.
Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Poemify Podcast. I'm your host, Oluwatosin Isaac, and today we have a special guest who's about to take us on a poetic journey through the heart of Africa. Joining us is Caleb Mwangome, a talented Kenyan poet and writer who has crafted a self-published poetry collection titled Circle of Perfection. In this collection, Caleb delves into the profound themes of family, loss, and mental health, painting a vivid tapestry of emotions and experiences. Throughout this episode, Caleb will share his remarkable writing journey, offering us a glimpse into the creative process that brings his poetry on the African continent and how it resonates with the diverse narratives and challenges that define this beautiful part of the world. So, sit back, relax, and prepare to be moved by the words and wisdom of Caleb Mwangome as we embark on this poetic adventure together. Stay tuned for an enriching conversation that will touch your heart and soul. Nice to have you here.
I'm so excited too to be here. Thank you so much for the invite.
You're welcome. So let's just get right into the interview, shall we?
Yeah, thank you.
Alright, so I just want you to be comfortable enough and just be free.
Okay, it's alright.
Alright, so we begin now. Alright, welcome Caleb. It's good to have you on Poemify Podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful and so humbled to be here today.
It's so good to hear. So, tell us more about yourself. Who is Caleb, if I may ask?
So, Caleb Mwangome is my name. I'm a Kenyan, born and raised in Kilifi town. I'm a poet, writer. I write short stories. I'm a self-published author, and I'm also a third-year dental student at Moi University School of Dentistry. Yeah.
Wow. Dentistry, that's interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. So, how did poetry come about? Since you're studying dentistry, when did you start writing? What inspired you?
Actually, I began writing when I was a Form 2 student, that is back in high school, in the year 2017. That's when I fell in love with the pen. Yeah, so when I began writing, actually, I love reading a lot. So that's what also was an inspiration to also write by myself, some pieces on myself, and also for the poetry part, I also love music. So, music itself is poetical actually. So music also inspired me into writing pieces. And when I began writing, actually, my pieces were more of finding the rhymes, like you playing with words. So that's when I started writing. But with time, my writing evolved into, in poetry, for the rhymes, rhymes, they form like the shell or the skeleton, but the flesh is what the inner meaning of these words. They form the flesh. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. So while I was reading your biography, you wrote that then
you wrote pieces for your classmates to read. Can you still recall one of the pieces you wrote back then
that inspired you and motivated you to opt and hone your writing skills?
I can remember the first piece that I wrote was titled Fallen Empire. So it was actually a love poem. So I was writing about a person who had fallen in love, but now his love, like, it was falling apart. So it was titled Fallen Empire. Actually, I can't remember the words exactly because it was a long time ago, but it was titled A Fallen Empire. That was my first poem that I wrote.
Oh, that's sweet. That's it. And thanks to your classmates who pushed you to become whom you are today and the man you're still becoming as a writer and a poet. Yeah. So what themes or you're welcome. Yeah. I hope they are listening to you and I hope they're still here motivating you and pushing you.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So what themes or aspects of Kenyan culture do you explore in your writing? Did you get the question?
So my poetry or my pieces. So my poetry and my pieces, mostly they revolve around the themes of family, mental health and love. Family first, actually. Family is where everything begins. Family is what shapes you into how you think and how you relate with other people. That's how I write about family. And also from the mental health, in this world, in the current world we're living, like, young people are the mostly affected with mental health issues, including depression. So, like, my pieces, they revolve around raising awareness about such issues and encouraging people to open up with such. And also I write a lot about love poems. I love writing about love poems. Yeah.
That's sweet. I love love too. Everybody loves love. Yes.
Exactly.
So, how have you navigated issues such as publishing, reaching a wider audience, or finding recognition in the literary world? Have you navigated these issues?
In my writing journey, actually, the first challenge that I experienced was actually finding the right platform to share my work. Back in high school, I usually share to my friends, my brothers to read the pieces. But now, after finishing high school, I wanted more and more people to read this work. So the first challenge was finding the right platform. But now, after high school, I actually discovered Insta poets, who are poets who they actually use Instagram as a platform to share poetry. That's one of the biggest challenges I experienced in the first place. But with time, I began sharing my work on Instagram, and people were responding to my work, and it greatly helped me. So for the publishing part, actually, it was a challenge finding the right publisher at first place, because you don't want to rush into finding any publisher, and you want a publisher who will be having some good conditions that will be favorable to you yourself, actually. Yeah.
That's good. So now to your book, Circle of Perfection.
Yes.
What was the inspiration behind the birthing of this book?
It was Circle of Perfection. Circle of Perfection is my debut. It's my first book that I first published. That's my first book. So when you start from the title, Circle of Perfection, Circle of Perfection, it's just a collection of personal stories. Like in my description, I'm saying we ain't perfect, but we are bound to be. Like in this world we are living, we are trying to be perfect in everything we do. So, like, in that way of finding the perfection, we ought to, like, finding ourselves first. Yes, that is about the title. So the collection is about mostly my personal stories and what experiences of other people and what I observe around happening. Yeah.
Okay, so I must say all the poems in the Circle of Perfection, they are all amazing. Yes,
Thank you so much.
And talking about personal stories, I don't know why, but I still have my smile. That's like one of the poems in the book. Happens to be one of my bests. I guess it's because it comes from a place of longing. So can you tell us more about it? And I think you wrote that poem about your dad.
Yeah. so I still have a smile. It's one of the emotional pieces I've ever written, actually, because it talks about a young man experiencing actually fatherly love from a young age. So when I say I still have my smile, it means that fatherly love wasn't around, but the sun is being at the fire burning within the sun. Yes.
Thank you. And I love the finishing of that piece. And it says, I still hold my smile. It's absolutely similar to that on your lips. And then my lips curved because you could just look at the mirror and said, oh, I can pick out my father's smile because he says it's similar, and that you reveal in the midst of trouble, emptiness and happiness. And the only difference is that yours is present and mine is absent and alive. That's, yes. As I just got, I was like, ooh, I think a tear or two in my eyes, and I was like, wow, that's actually a nice piece. And I also love the one about your dad. You're welcome. I think that of your mother followed immediately after that of your father.
Yeah.
So how did you feel when you penned down I still have my smile? What were the emotions?
That was one of the most emotional pieces I've ever written. So actually, I dug from the deepest part of my emotions when I was writing the pieces. From the start, from the first word to the last word, I had such emotional experience when I was writing that piece.
Thank you for sharing. So, as a poet, how important do you believe it is for Kenyan poets and African poets in general to reflect and address mental health issues, since you're an advocate of mental health? Yeah. So, how important do you believe fellow Kenyan poets and African poets in general should reflect and address the mental health issues?
I think for the mental health topic, this is a topic that it is talked about in our current world right now. So as we look at for the men of our age, the teens and around 20s, thereabout. So for the mental health, I feel like Kenyan poets or African poets or poets all over the world can use this poetry or their words as a tool to raise awareness about mental health, to encourage people to open up about the mental health issues such as depression, so that you can at least help in curbing such issues such as depression and suicidal thoughts. I think the poetry can be used as a tool. Yes.
Thank you so much. So, which poet do you look up to when it comes to this field of writing and poetry? Like you mentioned the Insta poets. Can you just tell us more about them?
When I first joined Instagram, it was like a fish in a large ocean. You are trying to find yourself, to find poets who will inspire you. So when I first joined Instagram, that is the Insta poetry community, I found there are many young people who are sharing their work, and that actually encouraged me. But there are some poets who actually inspire me, the likes of Rupi Kaur, the likes of Nikita Gill, and also the Kenyan poets. We have Mufasa poet. They also inspired me a lot into pushing my work into writing on my pieces.
Yeah, that's beautiful. How do you see your work across all divides, traditional gatekeepers, to forge a new identity, to shape a new narrative, and create a new future out of what it means to be an African? Like, how do you see your work across all divides?
I think for poets and writers, I read somewhere where it was saying, it was a certain quote where it was saying, nobody cares you are right. So for the poets and writers, I think the first thing is to write before you think what other people will think about your work. So the first thing is to write, because if you write, that's what will attract other people. So the first thing as a writer, I would put down those words down, and that will, before it will attract other people around you. So for the Kenyan poets and African in large, so I see poetry. I think people should have a positive view towards poetry. Like back in high school, the poetry that you are learning, we are learning for assessment. So you see poetry as something challenging, as I can say. So I think people should have a different view on poetry, should embrace poetry as an art like any other, and yes, and to encourage people to love more about poetry. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So I hear you're working on a new project. What's it all about? Can you just tell us something about your new project, if you have any?
It's still poetry. I love poetry. So my second project it's a collection of poems too.
Okay.
So also a collection of my personal experiences, what I observe around. So I draw inspiration from what I read. A single word can inspire me to write an entire poem, actually, and what I observe around people doing, or what I experienced to myself. That's what the inspiration towards the second project. So it is a collection of poems, and I'm hoping it will be published towards the end of this year, around December.
Ooh, that's nice. We anticipate that state is released.
Thank you.
All right. So
what advice do you have
for upcoming poets and writers who
they don't have an idea
what to do? What advice do you have for them?
I think the most difficult part as a poet or a writer is to start. I think you must not look any other, there's not the right moment to start. I think this is the right moment. You have to write. If you want to be a writer or you want to be a poet, the first thing is to put down those words, and that will be the start of navigating through this part of literature and poetry and art as an entirety.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Who has been your greatest support system till date?
Yeah.
Who has been your greatest support system till date in the aspect of poetry, motivating you, and whom has been feeding you words of motivation?
First, I want has pushed me to write poetry, encourage me in what I do, in everything that I do, has been much of an inspiration to me, and also through God. I'm a believer also, so God has also inspired me into pushing through this literary world. Yeah, and also friends around me have also helped me a lot.
Yes. Thank you so much. Caleb. I'm so happy to have you on today's episode. So
I'm so grateful.
Last question too. Are there other topics you'd love to explore, in the nearest future, aside family loss and mental health? Are there other topics you'd love to explore, and aside love too?
Actually, for the topics, mostly you write from inspiration.
Yeah.
So what inspires you is what you write down. So, and for the longest time, love and mental health or family is what I've drawn inspiration from, but I'm open to other topics. And of late, I've been trying to speak these words, like trying to move my words from the page to the stage. So, like trying to speak the words that I write. So, I'm looking forward to that, navigating that dream.
Okay, all right. So before you go, I just love to ask, what are your hobbies aside writing and listening to music? What are your other hobbies?
I love my hobbies. Actually, writing, as I've said, I love writing and listening to music. But apart from that, I also love swimming. Yeah, I love swimming. I love swimming so much. And also watching sports, football. I love football so much.
That's nice. I think I'll come and enroll for classes for swimming, because the last time I tried to swim, I almost drowned. That's been like 5 years. So I've not really gone into the but thank you so much. All right, so we'll do something quick and fun.
Okay.
Give me an answer.
Okay.
Very fast. If you delay, maybe.
Okay.
Here.
How we do it. So names of poets you'd love to meet. So let's go again.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So names of poets you love to meet. Number 1.
Mufasa poet.
Number 2.
Rupi Kaur.
Number 3.
Nikita Gill.
2 points and 1 point. So it's a draw. So you owe me swimming lessons. You owe me swimming lessons. Thank you so much, Caleb, for today's episode. Except you want to go like one more round. Let's see if you can get it all.
Oh, it's all right. I'm so grateful to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. God bless you. And yeah, we look forward to the release of your second book. I'd love to read it.
Okay, thank you so much.
You have an amazing day.
Have a good day too.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
All right.